Everyone is aware of the addictive nature of drugs like cocaine and heroin. But what about pornography? Pornography has always been around, but now it's a widespread crisis. Many counselors are warning this addiction is an epidemic. Why? Blame the internet. Pornography is only a click away. Roughly 40 million Americans regularly visit porn websites. This is no longer someone else's problem. Pornography has invaded the hearts and homes of your family, your friends, and most likely your church. Stay tuned to Beyond Today as we discuss stopping the addiction with porn.
Join our host Steve Myers and his guests as they help you understand your future on Beyond Today.
It's said to be as mood-altering and as addictive as narcotics. It invades the lives of people in all age groups, all ethnic backgrounds, religious faiths, and social status. It has more outlets in this country than there are McDonald's restaurants. Some even act out criminal consequences on what they're viewing. What is it? Pornography. Once a dirty little secret, it's become an epidemic. Welcome to Beyond Today. Today to discuss this, I've invited a guest to join me, Gary Antion. Gary's a college-level educator and a licensed marriage and family therapist. Gary, when we begin to talk about pornography, I think some of our viewers would wonder, what exactly are we talking about? If we wanted to define it very precisely and put a label right on this problem, how would you do that?
Well, there are many definitions for pornography. All you have to do is check the internet. You'll find a lot of them put out there, but a lot of them are incomplete. Pornography comes from the Greek word that is broken down to mean from porno, which means harlot or prostitute, and graphos, which is an illustration or a depiction of. So you're really dealing with a depiction of prostitutes or harlots as the root word for pornography.
So when you go way back in time, all the way back with the Greeks, they were defining some of the problems.
Images of those, viewing images of those, having a part in it. However, today it is more defined as material that is intended to excite or explicitly intended for sexual arousal. That would be in the realm of a good definition for pornography.
So we're pulled more into a definition that's talking about perversion and lewdness and that aspect of depictions, not just a photograph or something like that.
Because it could be images, it could be writings, it could be still images or movies, anything intended to excite. Its purpose is to try to excite individuals, and of course it's everywhere.
Boy, it sure seems to have taken over the internet. And when you talk about pornography, there seems to be a driving force behind it at times. How would you explain that? What is it that pushes pornography?
Well, we can certainly say that the internet is very accessible. The internet is something that people can go to. But we can blame the internet, but is it really the internet that's the problem? Because I look at human nature being the problem, the desire, the lusts, to want to see something more than you should be seeing, to view something more than you should be viewing, that which is illicit. It causes people to cater to their baser lusts in life.
So first and foremost, you say human nature. That's it. People's desires, people's thoughts.
Desires are what drive it, because you can have all types of temptations out there, but you have to buy into those temptations. And certainly big business. It's a money-making business, a multi-million-dollar business. So naturally, the almighty dollar is driving the porno industries.
When you look at that, you begin to think that pornography is driven by probably the two biggies, you might say, money and people's human nature. That seems to be the driving force. And hasn't the money, in a sense, really driven that whole thing lately?
Oh, sure it has. And you have individuals trying to make money off of it through you have adult bookstores, you have adult theaters, you have all these avenues that are available for people to tap into, and it's so accessible because of that.
Well, it's become more mainstream, hasn't it?
It's become very much acceptable by many. And in fact, a lot of your ads, a lot of your magazines, employ aspects of pornography in order to attract.
You look at billboards, the clothing that's pushed on society. It's hard to go through the checkout aisle at the grocery store. There's the magazine staring at you right there at the checkout. And movies and television, those all seem to play a part. to just show you it's surrounding us. It's everywhere.
It is. And it's interesting, when I was driving down the freeway, all of a sudden you go past a mall or you go past a shopping area and you see that one of the largest advertisements is for adult books or adult movies or adult videos. Come check it out. Why is this in our land when pornography is really something that is outlawed?
And it's in a sense stolen the word adult, hasn't it? Now it's an adult entertainment.
It has corrupted the name adult.
Boy, has it ever.
Adult is supposed to mean somebody who's mature, somebody who's grown up from their childish ways, as opposed to someone who is engaged in that which is really not mature.
And so society seems in some ways to look the other way and say, well, it's not that big a problem. It's okay if people want to do that as long as they don't hurt anyone else. And they put these little disclaimers on these things. And yet we're more and more, saying, well, it's fine. It's not that big of a problem. And so it seems that society has changed its outlook in that way.
It's an issue that seems to creep up on people, that you see a little bit of it and you want more. And it's so accessible and so available and so out there in magazines and media and even styles, clothing styles feed into this as well.
Yeah, you hit on something there that's interesting, because it seems that one of the things that drives pornography, in that sense that society's accepted it more, is the fact that it is accessible. And just in the last few years, that's become more and more obvious. When you look at the internet, or you look at some of the other venues, they weren't around in the past, or porn wasn't available in those areas before. And so it seems that accessibility has changed people's perspective that much more today.
Well, just as you said, it's only a click away. And it's something that our children can just go into the bedroom, close the door, and they have their access to their computer, and they can be surfing the net and looking up all types of sites unless they are blocked by filters.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, you don't even have to be looking. It seems now you can check your email, and if you're not careful or you don't have a filter, boom, there it is. It's right in front of you, right there.
Well, I have a filter on mine, and I'm still getting them. Because every so often you'll get an advertisement, say, from Jane somebody, and you think, well, I know a person named Jane in my associations, and you go to push it and download it, and what do you get? I'm Jane. I'm coming to your neighborhood. Would you I'd like to meet you and hook up with you. Mm-hmm. What's this? What's going on here? So now I just delete them. If I don't know who that person is, I just delete it right away.
But is there more?
Sure, there is.
Than just accessibility.
It doesn't cost much. It's so affordable now because it's free in most cases. If you have your internet subscriber, you pay that price for, you can go on there and surf and you could find whatever you want. So it's affordable, and more than that, you can do it in a sense of anonymity. You don't have to be known to do it. Although people that try this at work are not going to get away with it, and they could get fired because of that. So you do not want to be engaging in these type of activities, because they will have detrimental effects not only on you, but your loved ones around you.
It's a big problem. In fact, we hope you'll stay tuned. We've got a lot more to discuss, and stay right with us.
In our fast-paced world, how do you hold on to life's most important things? Your relationships, your finances, even a positive state of mind. For step-by-step principles that always work, get a hold of your free copy of Making Life Work. It's full of timeless advice you need to succeed. Call toll-free 1-888-886-8632 or go to beyondtoday.tv. See the spiritual truths that work to always create lasting job and career success, that build healthy marriages and families, financial security, and a life full of friendships. Timeless principles for everybody. They always work. Get your free copy of Making Life Work now by calling toll-free 1-888-886-8632. That's 1-888-886-8632. Or go to beyondtoday.tv. Nothing should stop you from making life work.
There are so many pulls and draws in our world today. How do you make it work? Well, we've got a booklet to help you. It's called Making Life Work. It'll help guide you and help you to find solutions to the difficulties that you face in life. Go to the website, order this booklet. It'll help you in all kinds of ways. It'll help you with your family. It'll help you with your finances. It'll help you understand there is a purpose for your life and guide you to a greater meaning. So go order this booklet. Now, we've been talking about pornography, and it's such a massive problem. In fact, in the United States, it's said that pornography is an $8 billion a year business. It's hard to comprehend how big that is. That's bigger than the NFL, the NBA, and Major League Baseball combined. And that exceeds the amount of revenues of ABC, CBS, NBC put together. It is a massive problem. Child porn itself is said to generate $3 billion every single year. And it seems that porn is getting bigger and bigger, and the problem is just growing, and it seems to continue to progress. I've been talking with family therapist Gary Antian, and when you talk about that progression of pornography, is that really the case, that there is a progression to it?
Absolutely. Once it begins, once you start down that path, you can become addicted. Not everybody who views pornography is going to become addicted, but the hook is out there for you to continue down the path. And it is a progressive addiction as opposed to a substance addiction, which can cause this person to keep on going and adding to his downward spiral in life as he goes along this path.
And that's the beginning key. Like you said, the hook. The hook into it is that you want more. You want to come back again. And that starts that cycle of...
It really does, because that one doctor, Dr. Victor Klein, went ahead and had 4 areas that people go through in the progression to pornography addiction.
So
and
let's be
steps
clear. Steps that people go down as they get into this.
And let's be clear what an addiction is. An addiction is an attempt to control something by actually going out of control in another area. So whether people are lonely and they want to control their loneliness by surfing the net and finding some, quote, pseudo mate on the net or cyber mate on the net, whatever it happens to be, they're trying to control something. But it really is going out of control. And yet there's a payoff. There's a certain pleasure, even though it's an evil pleasure, even though it's a wrong pleasure, there's a certain pleasure that they derive out of going into that particular addiction. So this process begins with an addiction-like beginning, where people start seeing it, and then they want to see more. Then they want to continue. Then they continue down that path.
So that's the first step.
Yes.
That wanting more, that addictive type of a process.
Addictive type of process, and then it escalates. Then just seeing whatever pictures they see is not enough. They have to find something a little weirder, a little kinkier for them to keep their interest, and they begin to escalate how much they see. They want to see it more often. They can't be satisfied with what they saw initially. They want to see more.
I suppose that's where some of the comparisons with drugs comes in, because to get that high, to get that pleasure out of it, then it's got to be a little more extreme.
Exactly.
It's got to be a little bit more lewd, or a little bit more licentious in that sense. And
Exactly.
So that pulls that escalating process in.
And then they begin to become desensitized, where they begin to say, this isn't so bad. And what they're used to, now they need to have something else to help get them going and keep them going in this particular area. So they become desensitized. And then they say to themselves, everybody's doing this, so what's wrong with this? So why don't I just keep it up? And they do. And pretty soon they come out of the closet. And remember, when people are doing things anonymously, why are they doing that? Right. Because there's a little bit of a shame. But then they find out, because it is so prevalent now, that other people are doing it. So now they begin to come out in the open a little bit more about this particular issue.
Would you say that maybe that's part of this process where you hear on the news every once in a while, maybe some famous person or some religious person has been found out that they've been involved in these kinds of things, and suddenly they were possibly so desensitized by that process that they said, well, everybody's doing it, and they fell into that trap.
It tends to become commonplace, and what they once thought was taboo is no longer taboo for them. It becomes normal. It becomes normalized to them. So as they go downward, instead of an upward progression, it's a downward progression. And as they go downward, they begin to sink into all types of activities. Finally, they come to where they act out, where they actually act out by whether it's exhibitionism, or whether it's possibly going down an avenue that's of illicit sex, or whether it's going into child sex or child porn, or whether it's abusing others. It takes them down that path where they actually begin acting out.
And that oftentimes can turn to violent type of behaviors,
Oh,
too.
sure, and not only violence toward them, but violence toward others. They defile themselves, and they end up defiling others in the same process.
Those 4 steps are interesting because there are some people that would say, well, pornography, it's really not harmful. It's really just harmless fun. It's entertainment. You know, it's so prevalent today and so accessible that it's really doesn't lead that way. It's just plain old entertainment. What would you say to people?
Well,
like
I would
that?
say to them, pornography is going to harm an individual psychologically. It's going to harm them in their outlook. It's going to harm their present. It's going to harm their future. It may end up landing them in jail if they act out in the wrong way, and they may end up spending jail time because of pornography. And they are certainly hurting their present, and they're absolutely hurting their future because of what effects they will have not only on themselves, but on their loved ones.
It is an amazing progression, the way pornography has just changed society, and in some ways, society has accepted it. They've been desensitized overall to the whole thing. But it's interesting. There was an interesting findings that the LAPD, the Los Angeles Police Department, they have the Sexually Exploited Child Unit, and they studied this very issue for 10 years, and they found that pornography had a tremendous effect. They said it was an insidious tool in the hands of the pedophilic population, and actually found pornography was involved in 55% of the cases. They actually found it. They actually found the materials. So for people to say that it's harmless or it's just entertainment and doesn't lead anywhere, it doesn't go down a bad path, I think they're kidding themselves. Don't you find that to be the case?
They absolutely will be kidding themselves because it's going to have detrimental effects. And it may not seem the first time, it may not seem the second time, but it's going to start hurting you. It's going to hurt your image. It's going to hurt your image of women. It's going to hurt your image of your wife. It's going to say to yourself, can you ever be satisfied? Because it's going down a path. And let's not forget, sex is very powerful. God created sex. He didn't create it to be abused. He created it to be used within the bounds of marriage. And so that's what they're doing. They're hurting themselves, and they're hurting their future.
It seems no matter where you turn, porn hurts people. It harms children. It harms women. It harms the user. It's a detriment to society. You need to understand more about it, why does that happen, and how can we get out of its clutches. Stay tuned.
We all need powerful tools to build habits of success and make life work. Get your tools to overcome obstacles and even overcome your own bad behaviors. Life's most powerful tools for personal success are in your free copy of Making Life Work. Call toll-free 1-888-886-8632. That's 1-888-886-8632, or go to beyondtoday.tv. Get your free copy of Making Life Work. How to be a successful family is not a mystery to the readers of the Good News magazine. It will support you, too, with timely information and the inspiration to keep your life on track. Understand the best lifestyles for you and your family's success. Call 1-888-886-8632 or go to beyondtoday.tv to make it all happen with your free subscription to the Good News.
When you go online and order literature, you can get the Good News magazine. It comes free for ordering. We hope you'll order the Good News magazine. There's all kinds of articles that will help you with your life, help you to understand what's your purpose. Is there meaning in life? The Good News magazine will help with those, so we hope you'll go on beyondtoday.tv and order the magazine and the literature we're offering today as well. No doubt pornography is everywhere. It's even today called an industry. Not just on the internet any longer. Lately, porn is exploding on the use of our cell phones. Adult content is what they call it. Adult content on mobile phones is a $1.4 billion a year business. That's this year. By 2011, they expect it to rise to $3.3 billion just on cell phones. I mean, it's phenomenal. Europe's the biggest spender on porn. Asia Pacific area follows quickly behind that. And dealing with this addiction, I mean, it's no wonder that it's all around it. And people say, well, I can stop. But it's so hard to have the right frame of mind for some. What about that, Gary? How can we get the right frame of mind? What is the right perspective to have?
Well, if we exclude God from our lives, we can't have a good perspective. If God is in our lives, and of course a lot of secularists would like to exclude God from everything, and that's part of the downward spiral that we have in our country. But when you exclude God from your life, you don't have a good perspective on life. God intended that male and female respect each other. Respect and love go hand in hand. And the great God of heaven who made human beings, made them male and female. He made them sex. You know, you ever fill out a form that says sex? You put what you are. We are sex. But it's not something to be exploited. It's not something to be perverted. It's not something to be misused. And yet, because sin entered the world, as we read back in Genesis, man has been perverting it. Man has been taking it and experimenting with it and trying every which way to consider sex, to satisfy his sexual appetite.
They forget that God says He made us in His image. We're supposed to be made in God's image.
We were made special. We were made higher than the animals. We were made for a higher purpose in life. And I think it's because we forget that purpose, because we forget our Creator, we forget to treat what God has made in a respectful, honorable, and holy way.
And so when you start to put God out of the picture, you're distorting the real purpose for life. You're distorting God's purpose for why He created us, and people then begin to just respond to that base nature.
Sure. Romans 1:24 talks about how humans have degraded themselves and how they have gone down and how they've exchanged that which was natural, which God had as natural. God even has 10 commandments. In His 10 commandments, He's got, thou shalt not covet your neighbor's wife. And how do you know, if you're watching some pornographic image, that this woman is not married or is going to be someone else's wife, that a person is sitting there lusting after or enjoying her naked body, if that's what it happens to be?
And God made these rules. He made His commandments, His laws, in order to help us to be happy.
He made His laws to protect us. He made His laws as a blessing to us, not as something to shackle us, but something intended to give us happiness and joy, something intended to keep society ordered correctly and properly.
And He could easily foresee how we could be affected so easily in our minds and how we could be distorted and perverted and go the wrong way. He saw the results of pornography way ahead, in a sense, that He knew when you get involved with adultery, you get involved with porn, you get involved with fornication, and it leads to even more terrible evil sins.
Sure, bestiality is forbidden in the Scriptures. The practice of homosexuality is forbidden in the Scriptures, and you have a prostitution forbidden in the Scriptures. You have all types of issues in there that God gives very clear guidelines on how He wants us to conduct our lives. But most importantly is valuing the sanctity of marriage and remembering that in marriage the sex act and sexuality is reserved for that between a husband and a wife.
So we're not talking about some crazy Victorian era, view of sex, because it's not that at all in that sense. God made man and woman. He made sex, and didn't He say it was very good?
He made them. He brought them together. He said He blessed them, which I believe was marriage. And then He said, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. He blessed them. And at the end of that chapter 1 of Genesis, He says, and it was very good. He saw that all He had made, including male sex, female sex, marriage, and He said, it is very good. God talks about the marriage bed being honorable and undefiled.
And in a sense, that's the purpose that God made it for marriage. He wants sexual intimacy in the bounds of marriage, and that's the right place for it.
Within marriage, sexual activity is such that it can be like a healing salve in times of difficulties, to soothe and to help the couple get along. It can also be like an oil that keeps the friction down within the bounds of marriage. It's a wonderful, holy, righteous, good thing, and God commends it. In 1 Corinthians 7, verses 1 and 2, He talks about us not taking advantage of people. Don't touch a woman. And he tells us, don't lust after that which is not yours. And so we have those laws that are intended to protect and safeguard the sanctity of that family, because again, without the proper teachings to the children and a proper example of parents, where are the children going to be?
Yeah, and when you look at that, God does warn us. He wants to guide us to what will protect, what will make us happy when it comes to that. Sexual immorality is something he says very specifically. He doesn't shy away from it. He says, stay away from it. Flee from that.
He calls it a sin.
Calls it a sin. And so without a doubt, God wants us to have a happy life and do things the right way, the healthy way, the good way.
He does. He wants us to flee that which is wrong. He wants us to embrace that which is good, and that which will keep us good, will benefit us. It'll benefit our family, benefit our society, benefit our church, and most of all, bring benefits to our relationship to God.
Mm-hmm. Now, when we get past some generalities a little bit, if there's someone dealing with the problem right now, what would you say would be the first thing that they need to do? What do you do about an addiction like this?
First thing a person needs to do is admit that they have it. Admit that they have an addiction, or admit that they're going down the wrong path if it isn't even an addiction yet.
Well, we talked about it could escalate and get to something.
Right.
If people don't stop
maybe
it.
Before it even escalates, when they're starting to buy into this, when they're starting to indulge in that which is illicit and wrong in the eyes of God Almighty, when they're starting to do that, they can stop it. They can admit, you know what, I'm doing wrong. I need to stop this. But then they can also get help.
It's almost impossible to stop on your own.
By
almost
yourself,
any addiction.
you're already starting to spiral down. How did you get into it in the first place? By yourself. So it's good to talk to a friend. It's good to talk to a parent, if it's a child, about what's going on in their lives. What are they doing? Why am I doing this? And any time I've observed, when a person seeks help, you immediately enlist the encouragement and help of others. But if you're sneaking around, it doesn't.
I remember speaking to a man one time who had this problem, and he told me all about all these other problems he was having, but the root, he wouldn't reveal it. Wouldn't say that part, but finally when it comes out, then you can begin to get the help that you need.
Almost any problem that we're going to have, if we're going to overcome it. And remember, people are not like chickens or not like animals. People can change. And if they set their mind to do it. And part of it is admitting that we're wrong. And secondly, it's seeking help from others. And thirdly, seeking help from God. And cutting off the wrong influences that are in our lives.
There is help. We hope you'll stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We all need powerful tools to build habits of success and make life work. Get your tools to overcome obstacles and even overcome your own bad behaviors. Life's most powerful tools for personal success are in your free copy of Making Life Work. Call toll-free 1-888-886-8632. That's 1-888-886-8632. Or go to BeyondToday.tv. Get your free copy of Making Life Work.
Lies are the foundation of pornography. We're told that restricting sex to marriage is an outdated and impractical thing. There'll be little or no consequences for looking at porn, we're told. And yet, there's no doubt, porn damages the viewer and his or her relationship with God and others. Don't buy into the lies of pornography. There are awful consequences for looking at porn. Don't learn to practice lust. Don't live in a fantasy world of evil thoughts. And don't be led down the destructive path of perversion. There is a better way. Turn to the truth of your Bible. Don't let pornography ruin your life. Gary, thanks for being with us today. Thanks for watching. When you're looking to understand your future, remember to look beyond today. We'll see you next time.
For the free literature offered on today's program, go online to BeyondToday.tv. Please join us again next week on Beyond Today.